You do.
Of and for.
Of and
for
for.
the objective.
Okay. You're drifting out of the picture. You should come a little closer. There we go. Okay. So we're talking about two kinds of genitive and two kinds of dative that are at the end of Unit 9, Hansen Quinn. The genitives are called subjective genitive and objective genitive. Okay, and I think they're confusing, and there isn't a whole lot that in this particular place in which you can apply this understanding. But let's understand the grammatical categories at least. The meaning of the terms are that in a subjective genitive, what's underlying the genitive is a sentence in which the genitive noun would be the subject. And in the objective genitive, the noun in the genitive would be the object. Okay? So let's give you an example. That may not be helpful in itself. Okay, so the standard example of this is, in English, it's ambiguous. If you say the love of a father, okay? There are two ways of understanding that. It can be the father loves someone, okay, as the underlying sentence, okay? In which case the noun father is the subject of the sentence. Father, so why don't you write that down? The father loves X. That's a subjective genitive. Okay. So that's the father's love for somebody, right? The love of the father, right? Father loves X. If it's the love of the father, it's somebody else loves the father. So it's X loves the father as the underlying genitive. Okay? That's an objective genitive. Objective genitive because the father is in the, which is the noun in the genitive. Yeah, I think you want to make the arrow to the father.
Yeah.
Objective genitive. The father is the object of the underlying sentence. Okay? Is it clear? Okay. All right. So now that's all that the book really tells you. We're going to have an application of this. In Greek, there's going to be a way in which you can make this distinction formally that you can't always in English and you can't always in Greek. Okay, you have to look at the context and decide what's meant. Okay, but there are ways in which you can distinguish in some cases. All right, let's move on to the two kinds of dative that the book talks about: the dative of manner and the dative of respect. Okay, now these terms don't go back to ancient Greeks. Okay, they go back to 19th century grammarians. Okay, I personally have trouble with them. Okay, what we've learned so far is that you have indirect object datives and instrumental datives. Okay, an instrumental dative is the one that tells you put in the dative case the thing with which you do something. Okay, so is this fundamentally different? When you say, in this way, I wrote a book, okay, what the book calls that is the dative of manner, but it gives you the way in which you do something, okay? It doesn't give you the way in which you do something. Well, it's really just the instrumental dative. It's is there a big difference between the way in which you do something and the tool with which you do something? It's just an extension of an association with it, okay? So Belisi put this in a beautiful way before we started talking about this.
You know what I said? Just that even if you don't know any of these terms and you see it in a sentence, you're going to translate it properly.
Exactly. And the same thing goes with the dative of respect, although it's a weird sort of construction. The dative of respect is a dative with adjectives, okay? So when you want to say somebody is beautiful in body, okay, or beautiful in soul, you put soul or body in the dative case. Okay, we're going to learn another construction that we're going to have to distinguish between this. But you say kalos te psuche, okay, for beautiful in soul. Someplace. Is there space enough? Kalos. Oh, no, kalos the adjective.
Gotcha.
Okay. We're giving you a phrase, not a sentence, but that's all you need here. Telos dei. That's right. Okay. So that means beautiful in solo. I think there's a circumflex over the end. It's all right. So that's I think, again, to take Belisi's rule, if you had to guess what that meant, you figure it out. Right? Beautiful in solo. Okay? So I'm okay with sticking with that. I'm going to ask you which kind of a dative it is. If you can translate it, you can. That's the main thing. So go with your gut feeling about what works. Okay, that's the way it works, I think, in language. But in reality, the native speakers don't have 46 different kinds of dative. They have one. Okay, you understand how it works in that case. All right.